Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes on the private server Rebirth. We're with our mutation Stalker Tiger Shrike, who has 2.5 million experience, level 34, and needs a half a million ish to get to level 35, and our next superpower. We have 16.4 million influence, and just to show you, I added triple resistance enhancers to this power, and I think I screwed this up. I said adding them would double it. It doesn't double it. It gets it from 9% to 14%, and that's because you max out with 3 plus 2 SOs at about 60% improvement to resistance. It's not like I was thinking more along the lines of like recharge, which can go up to 100%. We also have an endurance reducer and eviscerate. So we're in pretty good shape, and I off-screen did a couple of more tip missions, so we're just down to the last one. And this will make us a vigilante. So this last one is that we found a mostly intact cell phone, and on the cracked cell phone we discovered a ransom note that was sent via text message to the Paragon City authorities. Demands are being made by an Arachnos operative who is holding a group of British foreign diplomats hostage and threatening to kill them if the demands aren't met. And so we can either ignore the hostages and take down the Arachnos or save the hostages. We're going to ignore the hostages because we are a vigilante in this run through. And we will select and head over. So, and I got stuck. So this is going to finish this part, and then we will go to Peter Stemets, who is the next contact for this zone. And I think our final, where is this? I think he is our final level 30 to 35 contact in Founders Falls. There we go, into the sewers. And that should get us most of the way to level 35, because we're only going to have about 8 beads to go. So, we need to defeat the Arachnos operative and disarm a chemical weapon. And let's see how we do against this Fortunata. They're normally pains in the neck, but I think we can just assassinate her if she'll stop moving. There we go, one hit. Quite nice. Alright. You may notice I moved my hot buttons around a little bit. Are we getting ambushed here? It looks like it. Why am I not able to select her? I move my hot buttons around in part because I find that I always preferentially use Eviscerate after Focus, so I may as well have moved it. These two powers really don't do the kind of damage that the others do, so they're fine as something to use when you're waiting for a recharge, but for my money, I want to be doing Focus Eviscerate or the Assassin's Claw. Whenever possible. Alright, now we shouldn't be ambushed anymore, and we should be able to look for the operative, and we need the chemical weapons. Okay, down we go. Let's see. I don't see a chemical weapon here or an operative. Oh, Mu Adept. You guys know I love to take out lieutenants, and here we go. Oh yeah, if you'll notice, my inspiration tray is pretty low. There's a reason for that. The last mission I did before starting to record again was, again, one of these tip missions. But in that tip mission, we were invading a longbow base. They were not selectable or attackable when I started. And then you had to click on a glowy at the end. And then after clicking on the glowy, all of a sudden they turned hostile. And so there was a room full of, I don't know, 3 spawns, I think, of 2 or 3 guys. And then a boss attacked me, and then another ambush attacked me. And so I kept it would have been okay, except whenever I placated the boss ran away, and I couldn't follow her, I think, because I had to fight the other guys in the room, right? And then the boss would come back, and I'd placate her, and she'd run away, and so I couldn't, like, whittle her down. I eventually defeated her, but then another ambush came after me, and I just was like, okay, screw this, and I just ran out with super speed. Because you completed the mission, and it gave you the mission complete, but then you had to run outside, and the idea is you had to escape the longbow. And while standing in there fighting them, that's the operative. While standing in there fighting them, I had to use a lot of inspirations in order not to die, and I almost did die, but not quite. Okay, so let's take a look at what's here. We've got a Fortunata, a Fire Tarantula, and then we have this boss. They are +2. I think what we're going to have to do is use our Assassin Strike against these guys and take them out first. And this is where we placate the boss so that he's not going to attack me while I'm trying to fight the spider. And of course I missed. He's going to attack me now. Okay, and now we go after the boss again. Let's see if we can speed things up with hasten. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Let's start instant healing so that we can heal back faster. Placate. Build up. As soon as we're hidden, assassinate. See, I'm paying attention now. Missed. Of course. Alright, if it's gonna want to keep making me miss, let's take some insight. Build up, assassinate. We should have it now. Are we getting ambushed? Yep. And another boss, too. That's a pretty nasty ambush. Placate right from the start. We're hidden, so let's go ahead and assassinate. Yeah, see, this is what the other boss was doing to me. Right? Running away. And that drags you right into another spawn. Sorry guys, my phone is ringing, but I can't stop. I'll mute it. Alright, phone's done ringing and my answering machine's done talking, and so I unmuted for you guys. Sorry about that. Phone hardly ever rings at this time of day. A message wasn't left, so I assume it was a spammer or a scammer or something like that. Alright, so it looks like I missed the data in here. Ah, right there, glowy, right in front of my face, and I didn't see it. That was pretty sloppy. But we survived the ambush. Yeah, so that ambush is very similar to what happened in the other mission that I was describing, except I was ready for it this time, right? When I saw the second boss's word balloon, and then with the placate, when I saw them run away, I knew what was coming. Okay. So we should be done once we click this glowy, and then we will have our vigilante status. And that is the mission. Clue found, no clues. That's a little buggy. Alright, off we go. I guess you get the clue, but because we finished the mission, the clue got erased. So we have our ransom note, and we should now be full. We are now a 10 out of 10 vigilante. So we don't need to do any more tips. We are a vigilante, and now we're going to go to Peter Stamets and get started on his stories. Get any enhancements? We didn't get any enhancements. How about salvage? A bunch of junk. Recipes. Junk. Okay. Off we go to Peter, who's here on the west side of Founders Falls. You can see I've been over a lot of this territory. Some of it doing missions, some of it running to contacts. I am going to get so killed over and over again with my next character because I'm going to be just running right past every single hostile and not thinking about, I better not aggro. Okay, so we talked to Peter and he says we have two options. We can give the council something to think about, that's a street hunt, or Archon, Eric Manetti, is a name that still strikes fear in a lot of hearts. The FBI have him on their most wanted list, with over 30 murders, kidnappings, and assassinations under his belt. Most of them performed in Paragon City. Every hero in the city has been gunning for him since he emerged from hiding and did away with an entire neighborhood on Strika Isle that had seen too much. But it looks like he came up with a clever way to avoid justice. According to my sources, he's preparing to raid Portal Corporation lab and go to an alternate dimension. You only have 2 hours to stop him, so that's fine. It won't take us 2 hours. It's a little weird getting Portal Corporation missions not in Peregrine Island where Portal Corporation is, but I guess they have branch offices in these other locations, and so we'll just go to one of those. And one of the things I was thinking as I'm hopping around the zone here, probably something that's not appreciated by people who've been playing City of Heroes only recently, or even since 2010. When City of Heroes came out in 2004, the jump ability in video games was very, very primitive. Like in a game like Star Wars Galaxies, I don't know if you even could jump. If you could, it was very small hop, just kind of like that. If that, it wasn't that high because I have hurdles. And you know, environments were three-dimensional, but it was not easy to gain and lose altitude. I mean, you could lose altitude by falling, but I can still remember just laboriously having my character climb up the volcano on lock to get to the top and get to the point of interest, or just sort of slowly climbing up and down places in other MMOs. And with City of Heroes, of course, because you're a superhero and superheroes can fly. Like, what MMOs before this game came out allowed you to just, from low level, just fly? Right? Hover. 6th level. You can get to the top of a skyscraper. No problem. You just hit hover and go up. It's super easy, right? To just get vertical. And you get really spoiled and used to it when you're playing City of Heroes for a long time. But when this game came out, that was highly innovative. That was new. Nobody had done what I would call a fully three-dimensional game. Yes, there was X, Y, and Z axes, but most games attached you to the surface, right? So if you look at this, if we can't jump, right, we can vertically go up, but only by being attached to a surface that has a Z dimension to it, right, a depth. They're called the 2.5 dimensional system. City of Heroes was fully and completely three-dimensional and enabled your character to do stuff like this, which, unless you were God mode in some of these like single-player video games, almost no games at the time in 2004 allowed you to do. Yes, there were exceptions, but these exceptions are very rare. If you want to see an example of how you couldn't do this kind of three-dimensional movement, you can take a game like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which came out, I think, in the fall of '03 or early '04, from BioWare, right? Or maybe it was fall of '04, but it was in 2003 or 4, around the same time that this game was getting ready to come out. You couldn't, like, you could jump, right? But you were still kind of stuck attached to the surface of the planet or the surface of the starship. You couldn't easily gain and lose altitude with something like a hover or a super jump. And it was City of Heroes that really brought that into the MMO world in particular. And that made it really cool. Speaking of this, we have 3 machines to shut down, so these are the things that are generating the portals. So I can easily just, I mean, look what I can do. That was not something you would found in most games in 2004. It's trivial now, right? It doesn't seem like a big deal now, but it was a really big deal in 2004. And I know I appreciated it greatly when it first came out, and I've kind of taken it for granted since. And certainly since coming back to City of Heroes, I've taken it completely for granted because I've had characters with super jump, teleport, and flight, so many times that it's just part of the game, right? But in fact, it was new. It was an innovation. Most games did not allow you full 3-dimensional movement unrestricted the way City of Heroes does, right? Everybody does it now. Champions Online does it and lots of other games. But City of Heroes was the first to really innovate in that way. And you can literally move anywhere fully in XYZ without any limitations whatsoever. And that's really awesome. And it is something that City of Heroes did when nobody else really was doing it. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to come along in the comments and say, oh, there was some game you didn't play in 2002 that did it first. And yeah, I'm sure there was. But most of the games I was used to in those days were really 2.5, like Doom and stuff, were really 2.5 dimensional, right? You could jump a little bit, right? But absent a cheat code, anything more than that kind of height off the ground was simply not possible. Warwolves. What do we want to start with here? I think I'm going to start over here because these guys are kind of isolated. We'll take these guys out first. Don't really need to do placate here, but why not? Alright. Yeah, so City of Heroes innovated in a lot of ways, and one of the ways that I think maybe is not as appreciated, and certainly I don't think about a lot because I'm so used to the game and what it lets you do, is the vertical dimension and the ability to just fully move in 3D, which is just so awesome. And definitely makes you feel like a superhero. Okay, let's pull this guy because I don't want to aggro the other spawn. He's gonna go. You're really gonna go around the long way? Silly. Or are you running away? Also, knockback. I mean, knockdown is very common in games, but knockback is much more unusual. And so this kind of thing, that comes from the game Champions, which Statesman and a lot of the people who started this this company were players of Statesman. And I think the story goes, and I may be wrong about this because it's been a lot of years, but the story that I heard, and I heard it from more than one source, so I suspect it may be correct, is that Statesman and some of the people who started this company, Cryptic Studios, that parented this game, right, they were Champions players, and they were gamers, and they had like their own game group, and I guess Statesman was the DM or GM, and somehow or other he got the idea, hey, let's build an MMO, right? That's like EverQuest but superheroes. And this game was intended to be EverQuest in tights, right? I mean, what they had for reference when they started designing this game was EverQuest initially, and I think Anarchy Online, and probably something like a very early version of the equivalent of Lineage, maybe, when they started. Now, that would have been in the late 90s, because EverQuest came out in the late 90s, and Ultima Online, of course, in 96 or 7. So that's what they had for reference when they started. And then later, as other MMOs developed, they started seeing other things. So then Star Wars Galaxies came out a year before this, and eventually Lineage came out. But I think Lineage came out after EverQuest. So they looked at EverQuest and what it was doing with fantasy, and Jack Emmert, i.e. Statesman, said, "Hey, let's do this with superheroes." And his friends were like, "Okay, that's cool," and they started Cryptic. That's the story that I heard. Now, of course, over time they had to hire more people, but even, right before launch, until they got in with NCSoft, Cryptic Studios was a really small company, and they did some pretty amazing things for a small company. They produced a very solid game, a very playable game right from the beginning. There weren't a lot of bugs. I mean, I was part of beta testing and eventually playing a lot of new MMOs, whether it was Lord of the Rings Online or Star Wars: The Old Republic or this one, a couple of others. And I have to say, this game in beta, this game was the most solid open beta that I ever played in. And it was the most solid launch that I've ever played in. Yes, they had problems, particularly with map server disconnects and server loads, because so many more people started playing it than they really anticipated. But given the size of the company, the inexperience of the people who were running the show, and what they were trying to do, this thing was an amazing launch. And it's been and it will be remained a really solid game ever since. It's not perfect. There are things that they do that I don't like. They made some mistakes for sure, but overall, it was a largely bug-free. Other than the dreaded map server disconnect, it was a largely bug-free, solid launch. The animations were cool. The costume creator from the beginning was really cool. Alright, we're not going to defeat everybody in here. We're just going to look for the, because this is a huge area, we're just going to look for the glowies. We still need one more. It won't be in here. It'll be in the next level, probably. Just going to see if Medity's in here. I don't think so. Alright, so let's go back. Just making sure that wasn't Medity. Now we go to level 4. So yeah, they did a really awesome job with this game in so many ways. And that they did it with such a small and inexperienced team makes it all the more impressive. Okay, so now we just need to find Minetti. See upstairs. Doesn't look like it. Oh, there he is. I see a word balloon. He's got the villains often have big mouths. Alright. Let's do a little extra damage. Make sure we hit. Bam, look at that. Nice. We don't need that. Let's placate. Dull pain. Finish this guy off. Go back to Minetti. Knock him down. And he's done. Look at that. Tip found. So what's going on here? Shut the portal down. Didn't we do that? Maybe this is a defeat all? There is a little bit of an area over here. Nope, that's dead, so it must be a defeat all. Or defeat it. I know what it is. It's defeat everybody in this room. Right, it doesn't count that you've defeated him until you've taken out all the spawns nearby. So there were some guys down here. Here they are. Okay. Well, this should be no problem. Let's do haste to counteract the slow. There's just something really cool about that, like, ka-ching sound as you do a one-shot kill. Oh, they saw me. Alright, let's knock these guys both down. Gotcha. This should complete the mission, I think. And there it is. And we got an enhancement. And a recipe, and it's orange. What do we got? Unbreakable guard. Does it resist damage? It gives us 22%. 13% resistance and 22% recharge, which we don't need on our passive. So that will just get sold. We're not doing inventions at this point anyway. So now let's go back to Pete and see what he has to say, and then I think we will call this episode. But yeah, just the awesomeness of being able to, like, guys, do this. Look at this. In what other MMO in 2004 could you have done this? Look at this. Top of the zone. Done. And look how high we are. I mean, that is just awesome. I mean, how is it any cooler than that? That is just so cool. And I gotta tell you, I don't always appreciate it because it's just so much part of the game. But whenever I think about it, I do appreciate it because it's really cool. Okay, so he says, good work, Tiger Shrike. Minetti is still in this dimension and safely under lock and key. According to his jailers, he hasn't stopped raving about this alternate world. It seems he managed to locate one in which the council is in supreme control, and there is one like that. There's a story arc about that. So hopefully we'll pick up that story arc at some point. But for now, we're going to stop. We'll pick up another mission from Peter Stemets in a little bit. But until then, I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes.